Hello and welcome to the SolidWorks 2019 Designer to Analyst live event, where today we're going to show you how SolidWorks can be used to help improve your overall product designs. I'm Jeremy Rigneris, I'm the host, and joining me here today I have a couple of folks from SolidWorks. I have Kurt with the product introduction team and Hari in product definition. Welcome both of you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Now, Hari, I always like to, on these live events, introduce people and let the folks at home know a little bit about what they do at SolidWorks. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role in product definition?
Sure, Jeremy. In product definition, I write functional requirements or specifications on what goes into some of the features in SolidWorks. And I primarily work on simulation features. And one of the things we have to do is look at the customer's workflow and see where his pain points are and add features so we remove those pain points. And we have to also improve the performance and also have time savings for the customer while doing that.
So that sounds like things any customer would definitely benefit from. What's an example of a workflow we've improved in SolidWorks 2019?
Sure. Recently, we were looking at copy study, and a lot of users create their features on static study, and then they want to reuse that work in nonlinear study and not set it up again.
So show us Kurt, can you show us an example of how somebody might do this to save themselves some time?
Yeah, Jeremy. So I've got an example here where I've got a study set up, and I'm looking at the deflection of these pin hooks, and I realize a nonlinear study is more appropriate. So I can just use the copy study functionality we introduced a few releases ago and copy all of the study elements from the linear static study over to the nonlinear study, and they all come across. This saves me a ton of time on the setup. It ensures that I don't have any errors or did things a little differently from one to the other. And also, new in 2019, I can now add up to 10 faces to specify my pin joint there in the back. So that cuts down a huge amount of time that I used to take to set up and define that pin connection in the back.
It also looks like it provides a lot of flexibility and lets our customers kind of iterate between a static simulation and going to nonlinear is just a much easier process.
Absolutely.
Now, Hari, you also mentioned performance
Right.
inside of our simulation products. What's an example of something that we've done to increase the performance of the simulation tools?
Yeah, that's a great question. So last year I was working with a customer, and he sent me a file which had like 32 load cases for a gantry system. And he said, I noticed that you're running these 32 studies in Load Case Manager sequentially. Is that something you can do? So we looked at all the common things the solver did for those 32 studies, and we just did that once. So what used to maybe take a minute for each of those load cases is take 32 minutes overall. We now can take only 3 or 4 minutes because we only solve the deltas beyond just solving that big piece once. And that's a huge time savings for the customer.
Those sound like drastic time savings. Now,
Sure.
Kurt, for people who haven't used the Load Case Manager, can you run us through an example of how they might use this and benefit from this new performance enhancement?
I sure can, Jeremy. So Load Case Manager has been in SolidWorks simulation for quite some time. And it's a great tool because I can just lay my problem out in a grid form like this and have my different load cases set up. But when I hit run, instead of solving them linearly and taking all that time, it just looks at the difference. In this case on our bike, I just have different load directions that I'm hitting the handlebar to come in and look at the results. So it saves a ton of time on solving this particular problem.
It's like we as users of SolidWorks, we always say work smarter, not harder. Now we're actually getting to the point where we're having the software work smarter and not harder. Hari, now
Right.
I look at these as great performance enhancements, but like there's other areas. So for example, I may work in an assembly. Where's a way I could save a bunch of time working in assemblies with simulation?
Sure. So when you're talking about assemblies, you're thinking, oh, I have to mesh the whole assembly and I have to model all the parts and analyze if I'm just interested in one of the brackets. So with the new distributed option in remote load, I can take the effects of the tire on the frame attaching to the bracket and put it onto the bracket without having to mesh the tire or the frame, saving me a ton of time and then still get realistic loads. And the coolest thing about this is we got some technology from our sister brand And I'm looking forward to see how we can take this technology. This is a fundamental technology which we used here for the distributed option and remote load in other areas in the future as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to see lots more use cases for leveraging other technology within the organization.
Absolutely.
Speaking of really cool technology, Kurt, earlier this year you had the opportunity to talk about some really cool technology we're using inside a SolidWorks simulation called topology. Have we done anything to like take that further this year?
Absolutely, Jeremy. So we introduced topology study in SolidWorks 2018 and Simulation 2018, and it was primarily focused on the best stiffness to weight ratio of my part. So give me